Hello, my name is Amber, and today we are talking about my September TBR. So I'm doing it again, participating in way too many readathons this month, but I'm hopeful because all of these readathons are each throughout the entire month of September, so I should have plenty of time to get through these books. We're gonna kind of break down my TBR based on each readathon that I'm participating in this month, so you'll see books a couple of times as I talk about them. But the readathons that I'm going to be participating in this month are the Monsterathon, the Demonathon, as well as the Bratz readathon. Any of the information for these readathons I will have linked down below so you guys can check it out and participate if you'd like to. If you are already participating in them, please let me know because I would love to talk to you about this. The first one we're talking about is the Bratz readathon, and there are 4 different teams, I believe. Team Chloe, Team Sasha, Team Yasmin, and Team Jade. Each team has their own prompt, and there is also a group book for the month. They're going to be using the Hidden Wars as the group book for the month. I do not own this one, but I'm hoping I can get the audiobook through my library at some point. They're also doing, you don't have to do this part, but everybody's kind of watching at least one of the either animated or live action films that exist for the Bratz universe. I grew up with the dolls, but I kind of think I was out of it before the animated movies were a thing. That, or I just don't remember them. So I'm going to try and watch the live action one because it is available on Netflix right now. It'll be the easiest for me to access. But on to the actual rest of my books for this TBR. I chose Team Sasha. The first prompt was just a badass main character, and for that one I am going to be using Blood and Honey. This is the sequel to Serpent and Dove. Incredibly excited about this. Next prompt was a book that is featuring music. For this one I'm going to be using To Kill a Kingdom. This is a Little Mermaid retelling, but a little bit more on the darker side, I believe. It's Little Mermaid, so she loses her voice. I'm just gonna assume that there's music in this, so I think this fits this prompt pretty well. The next one is to read a own voices book with a black main character. For this one I'm going to be using Song of Wraiths and Ruin. I really want to read this book. This is top priority for the month of September. I definitely want to get to this. And then the last prompt for the Bratz readathon is a historical fiction. For this one I decided to go with Blood for Blood by Ryan Gwadden. This is the sequel to Wolf by Wolf. Really enjoyed that first one and I'm excited to get to the sequels. And that is all of the books that I'm reading for the Bratz readathon. So moving on to the next readathon, I'm going to talk about Demonathon. The first prompt was to read a book that is featuring the dead. For this one I decided to go with House of Salt and Sorrow. This is by Aaron A. Craig. This is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. Next was a book with a pretty cover. For this one I decided to of course use A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. This cover is stunning. This entire book is absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. Next was a comfort read, and I am using The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. Not because this is going to be some fluffy contemporary light thing to read. This is probably going to be weird and dark and fun because I know this author and I've read some of her books before and I've really enjoyed them, so I think jumping into a book by an author I already know can be considered a comfort read in my opinion. Next is the one that I'm having the hardest time with, and that is to read a middle grade or children's book. Something I do not do very often. Space Boy Volume 1. I think this is considered middle grade, but I'm not 100% sure. If it is, I'll probably end up using that. The next prompt was to read a book with intense love or intense friendship. For this one I decided to go with Blood and Honey. Like I said, I'm going to be repeating a lot of these a few times, but Blood and Honey I believe definitely has a very intense friendships and intense romances. The last individual prompt is Indulgent Read, which what I decided to go with was Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. I think this is going to be an indulgent read. Not only is it huge, but I think it's just going to be ridiculous. And then, like with most readathons, there's of course a group book. For this one, it is a short story called Dead Air. That's the Demonathon TBR. I'll do the recommendations video as well as introduce my demon in another video soon. After that, we're moving on to Monsterathon. Monsterathon is another team-based one. There are 3 separate teams: the Haunts, the Conspiracies, and the Beast. Each team has their own set of prompts. I decided to be part of the Haunts for this one. Even though I am part of the Haunts team, I decided to also use some of the other books that I'm reading this month could easily fit the prompts for the other 2 teams, and when you read read books from other teams' prompts, you can get more points for your team. So I have answers for every single prompt on here, but we'll start with my team first. The first one I have here is a new Black or Indigenous author to use. So for this one I will be using A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. This is fitting a prompt I believe for every single readathon this month. Then I have a book that is either a mystery or has a mystery element. For this one I decided to go with House of Salt and Sorrow. This one's definitely very mysterious. Comfort read is the next one. I'm going to be using Midnight Sun for that Twilight book. It's going to be a comfort read. And then the next one for the haunts, the last one, was a friend picks the book or an animal picks the book or something picks your book. I plan on having my dog choose which book out of two I'm going to be reading for this one. I'm going to have Shadows Between Us as well as Blood and Honey, and we'll kind of have him choose between those two books on which one that I'm going to read. Okay, so I put a little treat on both books, and we're gonna get my dog in here in a second and see which book he chooses for this prompt. What do you think? Oh, Shadow Between Us won. Do you even know the other one has one on it? I can get his butt out of the way. That means Shadow Between Us is the one he chose for that. And then, like I said, I'm going to be doing all the prompts for the other teams as well because I'm insane. For the conspiracies, the first one is a book that has mutants or aliens. I'm going to be using Aurora Burning in this one. Then a book that is either indie published or a book that is older than 5+ years. For this one, I'm going to be using, where are you at? Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Let's see if I can actually get this book read before the end of 2020. And then next is a retelling. For this one I'm going to be using To Kill a Kingdom. Like I said, it is a Little Mermaid retelling. And then the last prompt for the conspiracies is a book with disability rep. For this one I'm going to be using A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I think this is supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so it could work for retelling too, but I'm going to be using it for the disability rep. And then next we move on to the Beast. The first is just a cover you like. For this one I'm going to be kind of using whatever doesn't get picked for the friend pick that I'm going to be doing for the haunts prompt, so either Blood and Honey or the Shadows Between Us, depending on which one get picked for that. I'll be using the opposite one for this prompt. And then the next one is a book that is under hype. I decided to use Blood for Blood for this one. This is a duology I just don't hear enough about. And then the next is a book that is LGBT+. Going to be using Otherbound for this one. The final prompt for the Beast is one that is mythology based. For this one I'm going to be using The Wicked and the Divine Volume 1. Couldn't tell you what this is about. I just know it's based around mythology. And then there is going to be a short story for each team. Those haven't been announced just yet from what I know. That is my TBR for the month of September. We'll see if I can get through this many books. Because these are all month-long readathons, it's not like I can really just film the readathon for a week and have it done. So I'm going to be doing weekly reading vlog for the entire month of September. So stay tuned for those. Let me know what you guys are going to be reading this month down below. So yeah, that's everything. I will see you guys next time.